Right. Hey everyone, I'm Klloo. So it seems like you guys enjoyed the high seas sealed practice, so thought we'd give it another crack. I've built a different generator, one that is compatible with Fabrary to make it nice and easy to use. So I will link it in the description for this one. But I also know FABTCG has sealed up, I believe, for supporters, and then the Runaways podcast has a list floating around somewhere to use in conjunction with a MTG sealed slash drafting site. Right, so if that's your go, you can look into that. But if you want to use this one, right, nice and simple, all you have to do is go to Fabrary, click on Decks, click Import, and then copy everything below this into the box, right? So nice and simple, Fabrary, Decks, Import, right? And then here is where we want to paste it. So we will randomize it a few times. Also, clear-cut indication if you want to try and high roll or low roll, right, to plan. So we have different pack types depending on the common, rares, and majestics, right? So this is 2 majestic pack. You can get a 3 majestic pack, right? Or we can get a no majestic pack at some point. So yeah, if you want to, plan for something, you can. But anyway, just click it a few times, and there we go, right? Regardless of this number, I will also point that out, right? Regardless of this number, this will always be different. So this number is just the indication of commons, rares, and majestics, right? So if we get 11 twice, it will be completely different. If I can even roll 11 twice to what we had before, it was there somewhere, right? So yeah, keep that in mind. We'll get one with, I don't know, at least one majestic. Yeah, beautiful. Right, so copy. Nice and simple. Go all the way down to the bottom. You don't need this, but I have this here for anyone who does just, highlight it all, right? Copy, go over to Fabrary, because something I can't get to work completely is I can't get to pick up the format override, right? So I have it set to open, but it won't, right? Now, sealed is also a little bit awkward. So if you use sealed, you can get, more than 3 copies of a card, but it gets a bit confused, I think, right? With the fact that, say, we're on Scurv, and we get, say, Mech, Necromancer, or Ranger cards. So go to opened. Open means you can have any card in the deck, right? So in this case, we can have as many copies and any class card. So click open, and then all you have to do is click import, and it will import all the cards into a deck for you to now start sorting and planning. So all our equipment, including all the token equipment that you do get, right? So the Blue Sea Tricorn, the Bounty, the weapons, and the leg piece, sticky as well if you are scurvy. 118, so this count will vary, right? Obviously, if you hit Scurv's not a card on Fabrary, so Scurv won't be included in the card count. So if this number's a little bit off, don't worry too much, right? But other than that, let's take a crack. So yeah, step 1, sort it into at least different categories. So we only have 3 tabs though to do this, right? The deck, inventory, maybe. I'll figure it out. Wait, what am I talking about? I don't need to sort it. We're on Fabrary. I can go to cards, and then we can just go by class and talent. Yeah, that's a lot more handy, right? So 27 generics, 26 mech, but including the well, actually that's quite a lot of mech thinking about it, right? Because it's only 2. Necromancer, decent chunk, right? 18. At least we're not hardlined into it like last time. Pirates, 25, and then Ranger, 17. So I guess mech is more favorable, although we do actually have harpoons this time around for our harpoon cannon. So that's a little bit nicer, right? But maybe it's just mech, right? What do we have exactly? We have a whole bunch of cloud skips, right? A bunch of galvanized to get that draw. So it's a 4 block for 1, basically, right? Because we're getting card back. It will mill you a little bit quicker, but it's still definitely nice to be on the defensive with that. We have drawback the hammer. Yeah, no, I think mech works. And then on the generic side, right, we have the nimblism package stuff, which definitely goes into mech pretty well, right? We do have a decent amount of discard though. I think ally-wise, Scoobies. God, this is actually really, really tempting across the board, right? We have harpoons, we have Scooby, right? We have a decent plethora of allies, right? Yeah, sort of big-ish boys, right? Gold generation, and then buffs, and then just Swabby as a better base weapon. But actually, it's a lot of jittery bones. Do I have to make 3 decks again? I think I have to make 3 decks again, right? Yeah. So let me split up, and we'll make 3 decks again. And I might as well add in how to, right, using the UI. So you can either do it within the deck or just out here in the actual deck Decklist, right? So click on the dots, and then you can go make a personal copy if you want to replicate it, or if within the deck you just want to change the hero, for instance, right? Once you have your deck, you can just go over to the tabs once it wants to load, so settings, then here we can change from Scurvy to whatever we want. So the last one I'm missing is Gravy, wherever G is, if I can alphabetize in my head, which I cannot, apparently. God. There's Gravy Bones. Beautiful, right? And I'll just call this Necro. So there we go. We have 3 different versions of the same card pool, right? So let's get making. Right, so first round of pruning, 69 Necro cards, 73 Ranger, and 77 Mech. So we actually have more cards to go into our Mech deck, potentially, right? There's still a lot of pirate stuff and generic stuff, and I think, personally, the amount of overlap with Puffin and Mech isn't quite as much as well Necro or Ranger, right? Again, the draw discard being a lot more impactful for either of them. But at this point, again, we can definitely make any of the lot, right? Sticking around that 6 ally mark with 30 cards in decks, to me at least, still definitely makes Necromancer viable. So it does definitely easily feel like, again, there's a good mix of the cards. You do have the other pools to pull from, Pirate and Generic. So we definitely have enough cards to obviously make a deck for each. So we'll do just that, right? And I'll do the same thing. I'll sort the 30 cards, the maybes, and then the stuff that definitely doesn't work. Now, we didn't really get a chance to do Ranger last time, right? We're definitely more Necro Mech focused. So I think with what we have, it's a little bit decent. So we might as well do it together, right? So my first go at it would definitely be just counting arrows, if you will, right? So we'll just put everything that's not an arrow down into the maybe section for now. Right, so already we have a much better chunk of stuff, right? And this is a Red Spine Manta build, if I think, right? Because we have the loads, we have a few go-agains. We have actually a decent chunk of go-agains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So even with the Harpoons, I think it should be Red Spine Manta over the Hammerhead, right, this time around. So we'll do that, making go into the inventory, although actually this is worse in Marlin, right? So Red Spine Manta, basic set of equipment. Now the question becomes, what other cards do we want to fill it up with, right? So again, draw and discard, or predominantly just draw is the factor we really want, right? So for instance, again, Arsenal trade in then goes to an arrow then goes to Red Spine Manta into another arrow, right? So that's a decent wide turn. So I definitely want the trade-ins at the very least, and then blues as pitchables, although we are in a lower cost sense, right? None of our arrows are really hefty. Red Spine Manta is obviously free. The big ticket is just the gold, right? So 2 costs, so being in mostly yellows is fine. The question is, do we still want the Harpoon stuff, right? It's interesting. The bluefin, yellowfin, redfin, I think we'll probably whiff most of the time in sealed, just because if you're not using Hammerhead Harpoon Cannon with it, right, to get the guaranteed choice, your opponent should be able to present a non-matching color, right? So maybe that and the Rusty Harpoons, they go to the inventory for now at least, right? Because we only have 10 cards to work with currently. So yeah, let me peruse and think about what else goes with it. All right, I think this looks semi-decent. So I ended up putting back 1 Rusty Harpoon and the Bluefin. But aside from that, it's just basically things that we should be able to get with Go Again. So for instance, Swiftwater Sloop, right? Or High Tide in general with Marlin. The idea there is, pop a gold and shoot something does the trick. Or there's ways for us to get this to its correct count, right? Even just in that sense. Pop a gold, floats 1, then our Swiftwater requires 1 extra resource, so we pitch again into it, right? So it should be a decent filler Go Again. The question is just whether or not we have the blues to actually make it work, because we're a little bit light, right? So, if we do this a couple times, that's not that great of a hand, although, actually no, I say that, but it's Red Spine Manta into Swift Shot, maybe do some damage, get a Harpoon, call in the big guns, right? That's a decent turn, but potentially too many reds, right? And we need a little bit more blue, make them a little bit better. But, again, we have so many other Go Again arrows, so even this turn, a 4 into a 2, right? Off of the Red Spine Manta, and our call in the big guns. So actually a 4 into a 3. So yeah, I think we can present, right? Going wide as Marlin. We definitely pulled enough arrows this time. Just whether or not there's something a little bit better, right? The amulet, I don't think I can make work. Potentially in Gravy. I mean, it's a great pull against a Gravy mirror match, but I think the Majestic would have been better as something else, right? In the sense of this draft. Aside from that, the idea of conditional Go Again, in a sense, right? So High Tide, you're actively in control of it, aside from, not finding blues. But again, you have gold to fish for cards, you have your equipment on board, and then just paying for other stuff in general. So the gold hunter stuff, right? Where if you have less gold, it gains something. Again, that's too additional for me. Same with Scar for a Scar and Blow for a Blow and Life for a Life, right? Although they're decent, you're planning to lose in that sense, right? As Gravy, potentially because you've got that setup lag, but then they're all reds, so yeah, I find them a little bit awkward, and again, it does seem like you're kind of spoiled for choice, even though this isn't, a crossover set, we just have Pirate or Ranger. They've balanced the counts well enough that you get enough Pirate and Generic, so you don't have to, we're not expecting, Mech / Ranger cards to fill in the gaps, no. We're expecting Pirate cards or Generics, and depending on, which class, you lean a bit more into the other side, so those types of cards for Puffin, where it's just a beatdown, sure, even Ravenous Rabble, because we're a bit more mixed, but I think this is fair. I'm not really playing island control, I'm just trying to be really aggressive and use that, right, as the dominant force to make the counters mine rather than your opponent's, right? So it is just about that chip damage, which is where going wide definitely helps out, right? So first stack puts 1 counter, you have to do 1 damage, second attack puts a second counter, you have to do 2 damage or 1 damage, right? And so forth and so on. So yeah, I think it's solid. As for the other two, so this is what we settled on for Necro from the cards. Again, there seems to be plenty of discard and even go-agains, right? So we have Jittery Bones in the plethora, right? We then have trade-ins as well. We have Rally the Rearguard, we have Flying High, just mostly as a blue, but also, it is decent as just a go-again onto the allies if we can establish that board. But overall, we do have to be in the higher sort of cost basis, right? Because we're probably spending 2 on Cuddy Shark each turn, we're spending 3 on Scooby, we're spending 2 on Swabby, although they're not too expensive to set up, which is definitely kind of nice. So I think this works relatively well, right? We'll draw a few hands. So for instance, this turn, Compass, hopefully something's on top, Jittery Bones, or potentially we could also do Golden Tipple, discard the Jittery Bones, pitch the Walk the Plank, and then walk the plank into the gold, get a card back, right? Maybe then it's another blue for us with Water Sloop, right? There's always a quite a number of choices, right, and flexibility. So yeah, Compass is really nice. Just remember to always proc it. Start your turn, just look at the top card of your deck, most likely. Although there are those fringe cases where it can be relevant on your opponent's turn. This hand is a little bit rough, but hopefully we'd have the gold to, put one to the graveyard, play him, and then probably just swing with him. Or even just trying to lock out our opponent, right? So you Gravy Bones if you have the gold, get rid of Onyx, play Onyx, use Onyx, right? Something like that. And then we can just play one of the allies from our hand. That's still decent enough without the go again. I'd also say make sure you really shuffle, especially as Gravy, after every game, because you want those allies spread out, right? That 3-card ally turn could be really, really rough for us, because, we're putting one to the bottom if we're pitching it, and we want to, hold on to them, get them into their graveyard as quick as we can to get that Compass value. But that just leaves Mech. So Mech, still just aggro. There's not enough cogs for me to like Spitfire, right? So Spitfire is just sideboard again. The flexibility of just an attack versus an attack with go again with 1 cog, I definitely like a bit more for sealed with Blunderbuss. I really like Spitfire for actual constructed play where you can control the amount of cogs you have, but generally speaking, our cogs are going to other things. So yeah, mainly focusing on the go again attacks. Again, not too sure if I like the Gold Hunter stuff, but it's a potential go again. It's either that or, the Life for a Life, and I think because this is yellow and a pitchable, works a bit better, right, with the 2 costs for the Blunderbuss. But overall, it's just stringing together as many attacks as we can. On the defensive side, again, we have that Galvanize, so these are essentially 1-card 4s, right? Although, we're losing a card in terms of, the total amount for our deck. So, yeah, milling out is definitely going to be a bit rough, but they are definitely a nice mechanic, and we got a plethora of them. So hopefully always find 2 together, right, to use in conjunction with blocking. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 in total, right? And then the Top Old Wrench, if need be, could be a finisher attack for our line, right, instead of the Cogworks Blunderbuss, if we've used the cog into, something that wants go again. So, yeah. Key cards to look out for, I guess, is something to discuss, right? Sky Simmers, Cloud Skiffs, and then the defensive, the Galvanized stuff, or anything that, again, allows you to upkeep a cog, right? During your opponent's turn is definitely going to be nice for Puffin. For Marlin, it's either the Go Again arrows or just blues and some harpoons so that you can go big with your hammerhead. And I do like that sort of fallback, right? Where if you don't get anything too fantastic, you do just have a nice big buff in a 20 health format, right? And then, of course, for Gravy, discard and allies, right? You should most likely get enough, right? 6, we hit 6 last time, we hit 6 this time. If I roll the randomizer a few more times, I'm pretty sure we'd be around that. But, the more the merry. Otherwise, there is plenty of just discard. Or again, that really high value, destroy the top card of your deck. If you can hit an ally off of that, that's just Absolutely fantastic. But yeah, there we go. So the link to the randomizer will be in the description. Again, nice and simple. Click it a few times if you want. Fish for Majestics if you really want. Right, scroll down, copy everything below the line, go to Fabrary, go to Decks, go to Imports, and paste it in. And remember to set it to opened, right? Just so that there's no card conflicts when importing the deck. But other than that, hope you enjoyed. Yeah.